Hey, horror fans, once again, it's the Horror Miser Money G, and we're going to talk about last night's thrilling, exciting, and very gut-wrenching mid-season finale of The Walking Dead. Now, before I begin, I will say this. I only say it most of the time. I say it once when I start my recaps, but I'm going to definitely say it again because of what happened in last night's episode. If you have not seen last night's episode of The Walking Dead, because I will spoil it later on in my recap, and I always put it in the description, but because of what happened last night, I will say it again. If you did not see last night's episode of The Walking Dead, do not watch this video. Watch the show first, and then come back to watch the video because I will spoil it, and that means that you'll be not surprised what happened. So, like I said, watch the show first, and then come back and watch my video and watch my recap. But be careful, you have been warned. So basically, the show starts off. Rick finds out that the walkers are no longer in the sanctuary. All we see is a bunch of half blown up body parts all around the sanctuary. And then all of a sudden, Rick gets shot. And the scavengers, Jadis and the scavengers do what they always do. They flee. They hightail it out there. Luckily for Rick, Carol and I think Jerry, Jerry rescued him, and they realized that the saviors are no longer there, and they're about to go and kick some ass, especially Negan, because we see imposed shots of all the major players, between Rick, Carol, I think Maggie, and of course Negan with a big grin on his face, as we all find out what is going to happen to the communities now that the saviors have gotten out, and it's going to be hell to pay for our communities. Now, before we get back to that, we also have Aaron and Enid. Aaron and Enid are now driving to Oceanside. We know about those people, those women, who unfortunately guns were taken when Tara found their little spot last season. I think it was last season. When Tara found their spot, and that's when Rick and everyone else came and took all their guns away from them. And now they're trying to see if they can bring them onto the fold. But they have to obviously bring back something. Enid makes a great choice and give them some alcohol as a peace offering. Unfortunately, things don't go very well for that as night falls, and the next thing we know, someone is stealing near the truck. Aaron and Enid get out. The woman cold cocks Aaron, and unfortunately Enid shoots her dead. We find out that is, I believe her name is Tatiana. She was the leader, and she's dead. And Cindy, let's not forget about Cindy, she's the one that helped Tara escape, cries, bawls out because now her grandmother is dead. It's not the great way to make a peace offering when you definitely want to need them on your side, because I think the Oceanside is going to be the wild card, depending upon how this show is going to play all-out war. Back at Alexandria, Michonne is telling Judith goodbye, and she's going to bring her daddy back. But we take a look, she also spots Daryl, and Daryl and Tara, they return back, and they said the plan worked. The walkers they're in the sanctuary. By the time we get there, they have no choice but to surrender. But we take a look at Carl. Carl's up in his room. He has the note that Enid gave to him, I think, 2 seasons ago. Just survived somehow. And then he's trying to write the word dad. And then we see something on his sleeping blanket, but we don't know what that is yet. But we'll get back to that later. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, while Ezekiel is still groveling over his lost troops, we hear the guy from, I think it was 2 episodes, Galvin, addressing the community habits as they invade the kingdom, and they capture all the people in the kingdom, and they tell them that they need to have Ezekiel here and there, or they're going to suffer the consequences. They're already going to suffer the consequences, as Galvin said, is that thanks because of you, not only were you going to help clean up the sanctuary, but we're going to stay here. This is going to be our spot now. Everything in the kingdom all belongs to Negan, and that's what Galvin says. And this actually springs Ezekiel out of his funk. He gets into action, and he creates a diversion by setting some gas cans on fire. And Carol gets back in, and they eventually get everyone to escape. But King Ezekiel closes the door and locks it up and says, "Go save them just like you saved me." And he decides to sacrifice himself when Galvin comes and knocks him out. But we also see Morgan behind the fence there. Interesting. That could come into some play later. But we now know that we see the first community fall. is the kingdom, is the saviors now take their revenge after being after such a great plan between Alexandria, the kingdom, and Hilltop. Now it's time for the saviors to start kicking ass. Meanwhile, Maggie and Jesus are trying to drive back to the hilltop when they notice there's a tree in the middle of the road, and Maggie slows down. And she's right. Here come the saviors. They block all the troops. There's a huge caravan of saviors, and the back hitch opens up to reveal that Jerry is in there, whatchamacallit, obviously because he got ran over by the truck when he was heading back to Hilltop. Eventually, I think I forgot the guy's name. He's one of the lieutenants, but I forget his name. He tells Maggie that you got to surrender and everything's going the same, but we need you. The hilltop people are going to continue to farm because you're going to be farming for us now. But somebody's going to die, and unfortunately, he kills Neil. Oh boy, poor Neil. He kills Neil. Poor whatchamacallit. Maggie does eventually say, okay, we'll surrender, but by the time she gets back to the hilltop, she gets out one of the Savior's prisoners and kills him, an eye for an eye. And she tells Jesus that get ready to everyone to work because Hilltop's going to be the last stand. There's people going to be coming here because they know that the Saviors are going to start kicking ass, but Hilltop's going to be the last stand. Maggie's not going to back down. She's going to fight to the very end, and she's not going to surrender. Ready to go, Maggie. Ready to go. Now comes the main event as Alexandria going through their paces when Negan's voice booms out of nowhere. And Carl does his best to get everyone prepared because they're afraid. And he and Carl have this nice conversation. Negan and Carl have this nice conversation, and Carl actually admits that he's willing to die. Interesting. Very interesting. But eventually, it's all a ruse, that's what we believe, because next thing you know, all the people have escaped somehow, even though they actually had them surrounded. But somehow they got out. This pisses Negan's off to the nth degree, and he tells them to let the grenades loose, and he starts to destroy Alexandria. It's a very pitiful scene when all the houses get blown up. Carl almost gets blown up twice. Next thing you know, Rick finally gets back to Alexandria, and then he heads to his house looking for Carl and Michonne and Judith. But then we see Negan, and they have this big, drawn-out fight. There was one point where Rick tells Negan, "Don't you ever shut up." He says, "Nope." They beat the shit out of each other, and then got to the point where he actually grabs Lucille and hits him in the back of hits him in the throat or in the chest area with the bat. And Negan gets really pissed off. "Get your hands off her! Don't you touch her!" And Rick tries to get to the gun. It goes off. Rick leaves, and Negan's really beat up, and he says, "Shit!" And there was a nice dragged out fight between Rick and Negan. So as we coming down to end the show, we see everyone's in the sewer. Everyone has survived. They're all in the sewer, and then we finally get to I forgot the guy's name. Sarafan? I forget the guy's name that he saved in the last episode. And they look at Carl, and Carl said, "We're all fine, but I'm not. He's the guy I saved, and because of this," he lifts up his shirt, and we see a walker bite. Oh no, not Carl. He got bit. Oh no. We also have a scene back in the sanctuary room where Eugene sneaks into the medical room and awakes Dr. Carlson and Gabriel. He won't be rejoining Rick, but he asks Reese to help them escape. He tells him that he's drugged one of the guards. He's going to be, he has gave him some type of diarrhea medicine. He's going to be shitting his pants for the next several hours or so. And he gives him where to go. Gabriel drops him off the keys. And even though Gabriel tells him, "Hey, look, you can come with us," but Eugene says, nope, he's going to stay right there in the sanctuary. So we get that little scene right there. And we also find out that Dwight's betrayal of Negan will probably be exposed, as Daryl and Michonne and everyone else kill the rest of the saviors that were looking for them. And we also know for a fact that one of the girls is left out. And more than likely, he's going to have to stay there because she's going to report to Negan. Dwight was the one that betrayed them. But that's basically what happens on the show. So your first question is probably going to be, when did Carl get bit? Well, probably about 2 episodes ago when he ran into the traveler that they saw, I believe, in the season premiere. I believe that's when I forget the guy's name, but he knows the traveler. He probably got bit when the time when he and the traveler were, when he got the traveler in there and he was fighting off the walker, and the walker probably got him there. So I believe that's when he got bit. Probably not to the, probably a small enough bite where the disease takes a little longer to take effect. So, but as you can see throughout places to the show, if you watch it again like I did last night, you will see little minor, lot of points and details of Carl knew that he was going to, he is dying and eventually will succumb to the walker bite. We see the letters that he was writing to his father, the whatchamacallit that he wrote. He was going to give it to his father, the same note that Enid wrote to him, just survived somehow. And he was struggling to write the word dad. That should let you know that the disease was already starting to take effect to him. The fact that he was talking to Negan and the fact that he was going to die, it was more than just a distraction to let Michonne and everyone else get out of Alexandria, but he knew he was going to die anyway. So all those little clues makes it easier to understand what Carl was thinking. Because I didn't understand what Carl was thinking like that. Why would he want to sacrifice himself? The last thing, he's the one that actually went to kill Negan in the beginning when Negan first made his presence felt. But when you look at it full circle now, you understand the reasons why he did what he did, because he knew he was going to die. Now keep in mind, he just got scratched or bit by the walker, so it takes a little longer for the disease to take effect. And watching Talking Dead last night, and executive producer Scott Gimple said, yeah, he's going to die, but it's going to take a while before he succumbs, and it's going to be just any other walker bite. So he has something else to play. What's that's going to be, we'll have to find out when the show returns in February. So I'm not surprised that this Xavier's came back in full force. It was a great plan that Rick and everyone had of how to defeat the Saviors and how to get them to surrender. You trapped everyone else in one location. You cut off their supplies from their outposts, and you really wouldn't have had no choice but to surrender, because eventually would run out of food and water, and they would start to rebel. Now, we don't know if what Daryl and Tara did went against the plan. Eugene and Dwight and Simon, he was at the hilltop, all said it was Eugene that came up with a plan to get rid of the walkers. We don't know what that plan was, but eventually I'm pretty sure we will find out. Another thing that I've been noticing that hasn't come into play this season, what the hell is Heath? Heath, we haven't seen him since like sometime almost over a year ago when they first were trying to rescue Tara from actually when they're trying to go back to Oceanside, and they were on the bridge, and that's when Tara went back to the Oceanside, and when she got back, he wasn't there. Where's Heath? Where's he been in all this? He is a major player in the comics, so I don't know what in the world are they going to do with Heath, or if they've forgotten him. I hope the writers will bring him back, because he's a major contributor in the comics. I actually I think he's alive in the comics as well. So this right here, what happened to Carl, is a major 360 as far as what they did in the comics in the all-out storyline. They're basically there are some pieces that they've done in the comics as they're doing on the TV show. Like I said, Rick and the other communities strike first. They hit hard. The Saviors come back. They get rid of all the walkers. They come back. They literally destroyed Alexandria, and they almost take over all the communities. So I really don't know what's going to be the next play on the TV show. But like I said, they always do follow some parts of the comics as opposed to on the TV show. But the death of Carl, or the impending death of Carl, is a definitely major 360. And I really give Chandler Riggs credit for his acting ability. He's come a long way since the season began. He was kind of an annoying child when he first started. But then again, it's kind of hard for child actors to act, give them any type of emotion. But it's great to see his character grow. Some of the things that happened to him in the comics did happen in the show. But yeah, but seeing the impending death of Carl, very, very sad. Very, very nice, poignant way to end the season. And I love the scene where when they see the bite and they pan away and everything else is dark. And we don't know what's Carl's death is going to have effect on Rick. I'm pretty sure he is not going to be very happy at Negan. I also like to know how Negan's going to react to Carl's impending death, because he did have a special bond with Carl in this show, as he did in the comics. So I certainly like to know how this is going to affect both men. So, horror fans, what do you think about last night's episode? Did you catch the clues in knowing that Carl was going to die, or he got bit by a walker, or were you surprised too about the walker bite? And what do you think is in store for the communities now that the saviors have struck back? Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Excuse me. Leave your comments in the comment section below and tell me what you thought about last night's episode of The Walking Dead. Well, that's my video for today, and that'll be it for the recaps for The Walking Dead for the time right now. They will be back on February 23rd as the mid-season premiere, actually the spring premiere, will come out, and we will see what's going to happen with the rest of the communities and what's in store as all-out war will continue. Like I said, if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you can become part of the horror experience with me, the Horror Miser Monty G. And as usual, all my social media links will be down in the description box below as well. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember, horror rules.